welcome to Season 7 of A Little Birdie Told Me with rollercoaster.ie. I'm your host, Rebecca Horan, and on Episode 3, I'm joined by teacher, author, builder, and dad of two, Harrison Gardner. Sponsored by Aptimal Follow On. We believe that every feed is a gift. That's why we've dedicated over 50 years to breast milk research. Aptimal Follow On Milk, your life, our science. Breastfeeding is best. Follow On milk should be used as part of a mixed diet from 6 months. Talk to a health professional. And if you like this episode, it would be a great help if you could like it, share it, and subscribe to the podcast. We have a boy in the house, so we now and again on A Little Birdie Told Me get some male energy into the room. And on this episode, we have the wonderful Harrison Gardner, who I met at something recently and then kind of stalked because I was like, he's doing so much in this self-build space. But you do so much, Harrison. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be bringing some male energy to the
Male
podcast.
energy. We need a little bit of it. You know, dads are dads. Yeah. And I'm often like, we need more of that.
We're parents too. Dads are parents too.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to have more men who are parenting the way you're parenting on the pod. And I guess it's about finding the right fit, okay? So you're broadcasting, you're MC, you're teaching, which is something that you feel very strongly about. You've started this little business and community, and you're an author. You have a lot going on. But you're happy kind of floating through it all. Like, it's busy.
Yeah. It's very busy. And it all the media stuff, the books and the TV and all of that, and even launching the teaching into this nonprofit, which is Common Knowledge, all started right when we had our first kid. So it all happened at the same time. I never got to do any of those things when I had lots of time on my hands. Okay. So it's always been while Erin and I had a baby on board and then another one.
But how did a broadcast career and MC and this kind of pivot come from what you were doing? Like, how did you get found out?
Yeah, so I had started this build school program out of my living room, basically teaching people how to build for themselves, because I had bought this cottage in Clare and I had renovated it for about 40 grand, and it was this beautiful home that was functioning really well, and everyone was just, how did you do it? You know, everyone was just trying to figure out how I did it, like what methods I used, how to build. And I grew up building. My parents built their own house. My dad built little yachts around me when I was a kid. I grew up completely in a construction site. And so it was totally natural to me to build my own house. And I've been building my whole life up until now. And so the producer who ended up making the TV show with me, Build Your Own Home, she found out about me through some way that I was running this build school program. Initially wanted me to come and offer a different opinion on a different TV show, on a different building show, which I didn't want to do. I didn't see any reason to do that or value in it. I'd never wanted to do anything in media. And she was very persistent, and 8 weeks straight called me every week with a new idea and a new idea for TV or a new way to get me involved. And in the end, I said, if we could make a show that wasn't about me being the hero, but was about people building their own houses, figuring things out for themselves, learning how to do it themselves.
I get it. You didn't want to be the protagonist and like, here's this guy, he's coming, he's different, we need him. You wanted it to be about the teachings.
It's never
celebrity.
It's never meant to be about that. It's just meant to be about empowering people, helping people solve problems for themselves, helping people kind of believe in themselves to actually like be able to do some of this stuff.
But were you on Instagram? I know this sounds really creepy, but like obviously you were putting content somewhere that someone would, like you're saying, people were like, how did you do that?
Well, I was on Instagram. I had about, 64 followers, and I used to write the adverts for the build schools like in flour on the table, I'd sprinkle flour on the table and write the build school and the date.
That's cool.
Yeah, for all 64 people who were following me at the time. But, the build schools really built, I guess, people knowing me in Ireland and what I was known for in Ireland. I was always doing this kind of eco-building stuff, but doing the build schools, they grew very quickly. That first build school had 6 people, then there was 12 at the next one, then there was 20 at the next one. Then I had to hire more instructors, and then after 2 years of running the build schools, we transformed it into a non-profit social enterprise.
I love this.
And then it grew much bigger. We had more people involved. And then we've now moved on to an even bigger site up in the Burren, 50 acres of land, which we managed to, pull together with our community. No bank was going to go anywhere near us as a non-for-profit, so We did crowdfunders, we created community loans, we got our community to become our bank and lend us all the money, and we pay them interest, and we raised everything we needed to buy this piece of land and keep running our Build School program.
You're so entrepreneurial and industrious, and I guess you kind of alluded to that with your folks at home. And I don't know, where did you grow up in Australia?
I grew up just north of Sydney, a place called the Central Coast. It's kind of halfway between Sydney and Newcastle. And it was beautiful where I grew
country...
up. Kind of, it's almost like coastal suburbia.
Okay.
You know, it's not necessarily like repeated houses all in estates.
Yeah.
You know, it's spread out. I lived next to a national park, which was huge. I was the last house on a dead end street, and then had the national park to play in as I was a kid. But I spent a lot of time on my own, just playing in the bush there, going down to the beach.
Did you not have brothers or sisters?
I had 2 older brothers, but much older, 10 years and 7 years older. So they were off doing their own things.
So you were a loner.
Yeah, I was very much a loner.
This is why you're so I say that because you go and you live here with your wife. You were never going to buy a semi-D. I'm just saying, like, that was never going to be in your, like, semi-D, 2.5 kids, live in the city, hustle, rat race, and stress. You were always going to follow your own path because of where you started, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and also kind of growing up in Australia, growing up in that part of Australia in that time, I really wanted to see what the rest of the world was like.
Were you one of those hungry where you like, get me the hell out of here?
Oh yeah,
were
100%.
You?
Yeah, I finished my last day of high school and I was on a plane the next day, and then I was gone for a whole year. It was only meant to be 3 months, but I ended up staying away for a year.
Where'd you go? Just travel?
I went to Kenya.
Wow.
And I went to go and build with communities over there.
Stop it!
But then
at 16, 17?
No, that was I was almost 18. I was 3 weeks away from being 18.
Still, that's pretty young to be like, I'm going to go to Kenya. Most guys are like, where are the women? Where, like, let's go to Bali or let's go to Sweden. Like, you were like, I want to build.
I wanted culture, you know. It wasn't about building, but it was about helping people if I could. And it was about, I guess, doing what I'd been doing. I'd already been working in construction for a few years while I was at high school. So after schools, weekends, I was working in construction, and then went to Kenya. Spent a year in Kenya, came back to Australia. I lasted 2 months and then just wanted to leave again.
Wanted to go.
I just hated it. I didn't like being there. None of it felt very. Kenya was a wild experience. A lot happened while I was there, and I saw a lot. And so I got on a plane to India pretty soon after getting back, and then stayed in India for 2 years.
Did you not love Australia, or what you were kind of coming to? Because Australia is an incredible place, right? And like, Irish people flock there. We love the space. I think more than anything, people talk about nonsense like we just want to hang out and watch GA. Not true. We love that sense of space, and we love the opportunity. We always love a feeling of opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, America feels very closed. It's harder. What were you not vibing? Was it the family? Was it the upbringing?
Australia is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I miss the nature a lot in Australia. Australia in the 90s, at least where I grew up, was kind of racist. It was kind of closed. It was wasn't really like open and letting things form. And even my family, like, they were only South African. It's not like they were.
Shockers,
yeah. It's not like we were a minority or anything. But even our culture wasn't out there in front. We conformed to being Australian.
You were minority.
We had kind of bad quality barbecues on the beach, and we wore, sandals, and we wore shorts, and like we just conformed to this really, what felt like back in the 90s in Australia, really adolescent culture that wasn't really formed yet. And there was all this opportunity with people coming over from Asia and Europe and the Americas,
Lebanese and Greeks,
and it wasn't celebrated enough. And I just really wanted to go and be a part of all these cultures and be a part of somewhere that had a much longer history to draw ideas and knowledge and thoughts from. And so that's why I went back to Africa. I say back to Africa, sorry, because my parents just grew up telling me. I grew up with my parents telling me all about Africa and telling me stories.
Where were they from? South Africa.
So Mum was born in Tanzania.
Okay.
And then grew up, did high school and most of her adult life in South Africa. My dad was born in England and then spent a few years. His dad was a fighter pilot in World War II, ended up being a commercial pilot, and they moved around a lot as pilots do, but then ended up in South Africa. Both my brothers were born in South Africa, and then they immigrated to Australia 2 years before I was born. Yeah, just basically because of all the troubles
the
in
civil
South
unrest,
Africa
yeah.
that was happening at the time. They left and started again in Australia. My mum and all her sisters left at the same time, 3 sisters.
My family are South African. My husband is, his family, and that feeling of needing to leave is very sad because it's one of the most incredible places in the world, and they all had to leave for opportunity. A lot Australia, and then some England and Ireland.
Yeah.
It depended on your background and where you could fall. But it's that feeling, and I want to ask you this, and I think it's a straight shooting question, but it's kind of deep too, because did you always feel you never belonged? And is that also part of this nomadic lifestyle? And maybe now you've found, like John Belton was on the podcast, and he always felt, even just from Wicklow, he's like, I just never belonged, even in that community.
Yeah.
I never felt I belonged for various reasons. I think it's the Catholicism in Ireland. I didn't fit into that. Church of Ireland, which is not even that different. Did you never feel you fit?
Yeah, I mean, I was the only person in my family who was born in Australia. You know, I didn't have this connection or this ownership over that place at all. And so it was really easy for me to leave. I didn't feel like I was leaving anything behind, really. You know, it wasn't like I have this generational history with a house or a land or a place or anything like that. I always felt like I still had to find that. I still had to figure out like what that was or where it was, or if it even was a place, you
like
know, that
home.
didn't matter to me. Yeah, whatever that idea of home was. But it definitely wasn't there, and it never felt like there. I never really connected with the culture in Australia in a way that felt like this is my place, this is where I'm going to do.
And it was
my
superficial
life.
for a while. Like when we were watching the Home and Aways and all that, there was a lot of that adolescence that you talk about. It was they were westernizing themselves. It was all a bit nonsensical, right?
Yeah, we're just
and then
following
you had the
America.
Asians, exactly. But then you have such, you know, there's such an eclectic cosmopolitan mix of people there now, thank God, okay? It's can still be very racist.
Well, no, but look, Australia it's almost 20 years since I left. It is a whole different place to when I left. And if I was there now, maybe I would want to stay. Maybe I would have that community and that and that network of people who want to live in the same kind of world that I want to live in. But it wasn't there at the time, and so I just went out. I wasn't even looking for the community. I was looking just for the people, the culture, the food, the language. That I just wanted to be lost. You know, I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't know what I could eat, couldn't speak the language, didn't know if the water was safe to drink. I just wanted to go and I probably went too far down that path and got into some really dangerous and unhealthy situations, and then like came out the other side and was like, okay, great. Now I know the limits of all those all
you
those
pushed
journeys.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Did you have good? This is very much about, like you were telling me, your brother's a little bit older. You told me that once you moved to Ireland, your parents were divorcing at that time. So I don't know whether it was volatile or they just fell out of love, right? Were you a boy or a teen with good self-esteem? Do you feel that was instilled in you? And do you feel that you were an only child because of the lads being older? Like, what are the two things there that I think make you who you are?
Yeah, I definitely felt like an only child growing up. You know, my brothers are 10 years and 7 years older than me, so they were just kind of far enough ahead that they were well in the depths of their teenage experience when I was just starting to be more conscious of the world and I guess my surroundings. And then my parents split up when I was 16, and that seemed like a good opportunity for me to leave the house as well. Everyone was kind of splitting up, and there was bankruptcy, and there was all these things happening, and it was like, okay, I'm just going to go and start forging my own
was it
path
expected?
here now. For them it was. For me it wasn't. And they didn't tell me.
Stop it.
They didn't tell me until afterwards.
You didn't expect this split? You didn't see it coming? There wasn't
I wasn't. No, there was never a conversation about it. It wasn't something I ever thought about. And even when my dad left, it wasn't talked about that they were actually splitting up until he'd been gone a month or two.
This is very Irish. This is very like, don't talk about the fact dad's left. He's just gone to you didn't realize their relationship was ending? Like, you weren't aware?
I guess not.
Is this on you? Were you not?
Maybe, yeah. Was I not paying enough attention as a 16-year-old?
Was it just such a secrety thing? Like,
no, look, they used to fight, and they had been sleeping in separate rooms for years because of Dad's snoring. I'm doing little inverted commas here.
This is so interesting. This is very Irish.
Yeah. And but it didn't. Now, maybe this is some like trauma I haven't dealt with yet, but I don't remember being really broken up about them breaking up. That wasn't a big issue for me. I
Do you think it's because you were 16? Because
well,
that's...
yeah, I'd already kind of realized that I wanted to figure out my own thing. I didn't want to just do what my parents thought I
But
should
that
do.
is a trauma.
I didn't want
It's
to.
because you didn't want to be like them.
Yeah, maybe. And I think that's probably it, right? We're always either trying to recreate our childhoods or get as far away from them as we can. And
you
like,
did. You
Yeah,
went
and
to
I think I just got as far away from it as I possibly could, because it wasn't the environment that I wanted to be in. It wasn't where I saw myself figuring things out.
Were they
And
good
then
parents?
They were fun parents.
Okay.
You know, I had adventures.
Wow, that's an awesome thing to say about your parents, that
yeah.
you had adventures.
Yeah. I don't know if my mum was like particularly like a great mum, like always looking out for me or anything like that. She had her own thing going on that she was always trying to solve. She's still trying to solve. But she was loads of fun, and like took me on like train trips across the country when I was meant to be in school on a whim or whatever, you know. Like I remember it was never boring, but it wasn't
Conventional.
Yeah, it wasn't conventional at all.
So she was self-searching and self-exploring and probably going through maybe leaving a country like South Africa, coming to Australia, maybe her marriage. She was as a woman, and like I'm a woman who's 41, searching, and she had her own traumas, and then she's trying to raise these boys, right?
Yeah.
And then she's trying to give you the joy and adventure, but we never know how we hurt. She doesn't know that she's probably not, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But you love her a lot.
Yeah, no, I do. I appreciate her. I appreciate like everything she gave to me and all the time she gave to me. But, you know, whether we're running away from our childhood or running towards it, like I'm not trying to recreate the childhood I had.
What about your
with
dad?
my
Did he
kids.
play a good role?
No, my dad was very absent for most of it. But now
He was snoring for most of it.
I know,
He was...
yeah. But now he's around a lot.
Okay.
And since I had kids, he tries to come once a year and comes and visit. He's retired now. I think just back then he wanted a simple life. He wanted a calm life. He wanted things easy.
Kids.
And my mum, no, I don't think he minded the kids, but my mum was just like always up to something, always had some new thing that she was trying out. And I think that was probably the main thing that was hard for them. Yeah, they were so different. And he wanted calm, simplicity. Mum wanted to take over the world, and neither of them got what they wanted, you know. And so all these years later,
got what they wanted.
No, I don't.
You
think
don't
so.
think so?
No, not in that way.
But they separated.
Well, dad's got a simple life now.
And he did.
Yeah, but it's lonely, you know. And he lives in a part of Australia, or he did until recently. That was very tourist focused up in the Whitsundays. So when he left when I was 16, he went up there and started working, went back to sailing, left IT, was kind of like doing the things that he needed to do. But it was really lonely up there because tourist towns it's different people every week.
It's vacuous.
You know?
It's not lovely. Yeah.
The community's never great
No.
in a tourist town like that.
It's transient all the time.
Yeah.
And she's still wild?
My mum is still wild. Yeah, she's always got something going on.
But
There's always
you
some
are,
hustle.
as much as you run, right, from this, and you're here and you have this beautiful life, which you do, you are still wild and you are still calm. So you're actually exactly what they gave you, but you're just not with them. And that's probably better for you.
I think so. And
Interesting.
I think it was really important for me to, I am who I am. I learned from who I learned from, you know, no doubt that I have attributes of both my parents a lot. But I didn't want the constant review of me and who I was turning into and how I was doing things, which parents tend to give you unsolicited all the time, right? And so there was probably, when I first left Australia when I was 18, there was probably 5 years there where I might have talked to them 3 or 4 times, you know, in that whole time. And then it really wasn't, I was on the road for 10 years. It wasn't till I landed in Ireland and started putting down roots here, and I had an address again, that they started trying to track me down and find me and get in touch more and find out about what was going on.
Needed that space.
Yeah. And I was totally ready to share all that with them as well.
Are
share
you close
everything
to your
I'd been
brothers,
doing.
Harrison?
No, not close to my brothers either.
But they're over there.
They're over there.
Okay.
They're doing their own things. But yeah, definitely not the typical like Irish family.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't think
network,
there's a typical. I just don't know if there is that. And I think it's so interesting when you talk about the separate bedrooms and the horseshit that we're all fed as kids about marriages and the Irish marriage, which I allude to a lot in the podcast, where you just stay together in misery till you're 80. Like, I mean, look, what your parents did is make a definitive choice, so you commend them for that. But I love how you're here. You're, with your fam. You obviously didn't want to replicate, so you wanted to have a family of your own. What did you want to do?
I never wanted to have a family of my own. Until
I never wanted to have a family of my own, and then I was like, I want another kid after I had my first.
Right, yeah. I was always sure that I was going to be on the adventure my whole life, moving from place to place, no roots. And then I met Erin, my now wife, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of us accidentally getting pregnant, and it was just such a funny,
what
it was
a romantic
funny
thing
feeling.
to say. I didn't mind if I impregnated her, but that's so
but
hot
that was
and
really
cute.
it. That was really the feeling.
Didn't mind if I got her
it was the first time in my life I'd been in a relationship with someone where I wasn't scared of the consequences
of stability
of what was going on. I was like, that would be a great problem to deal with this person. And then I was ready to dive in right away, and she really put the boundaries up and made sure that we took it really slow.
Where did you meet?
We met in Dublin. When I first came to Ireland, I had been told by a friend to come and meet the people who ran the Fumbly Cafe.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Aisling and
Fumbly's
Luca.
amazing, yeah.
And so I came and I met them, and I was between jobs at the time. I'd finished a job in Iceland. I was on my way down to Malawi. I had 6 months between, and I was visiting Ireland for the first time. And they had just bought the building next to the Fumbly called the Stables. And it was totally a ruin. It was just a big empty shell of a building, and they were doing work on it. And I said I would build it for free for them if they let me build a little loft up in it to sleep in while I was there, and if they fed me out of the cafe.
Because rent in Dublin is like
But even then, it was just like it was just me. I was just cruising around with a backpack, building around the world, and they said yes, and I connected in with that community. And back then, the energy that community around that cafe had was really like coming out of the recession. People were trying things. People were starting new businesses. Yes. They were failing. They were helping each other up. They'd do it again. And it was just an amazing, like, we can do anything energy. And we're probably going to get it wrong. And that's okay. We'll try it another way. And it was such a fun energy to be around. And so I started coming back to Ireland as I was still working around the world, and every time I finished a job, I flew back here instead of flying to the next location. And then pretty soon after that, I bought an old ruin out in Clare in the west of Ireland. It was very cheap.
Is someone always giving you money, investing in you, handouts? Your parents? No, you've always funded yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
it's
when
important for people to do that, because people romanticize. They're like, well, it's fine for Harrison. He had inheritance and a ton of money.
Oh man, no inheritance. No, wow. My parents went bankrupt when I was 16. At that same point, there was no handouts. I was always working, often cash in hand, all around the world, and funding the next flight and figuring out the next step I was going to go. But there wasn't any security net. I didn't have anywhere to go back to.
But you're good at budgeting, which is part of your self-building thing. You know how to work with money, correct? Kind of.
I think, yeah, my wife would not agree that I'm like particularly good at budgeting, but I'm not scared of spending money on the things that I think are priceless, that are like catching a plane somewhere and ending up in a new country. Yeah. Like, that's priceless. It doesn't matter if it costs 3,000 euros. Back then, flights were expensive. And like when I first started traveling, we're booking them at travel agents and like going in and trying to find the best way to do it. And even then, I was never about finding the cheapest possible place to go. I was just like, that's where I want to end up. I'll figure everything else out when I get there. That bit's priceless. And being a builder, being able to build, money was just never hard to create if I needed to.
You knew you'd be
anywhere
okay,
I showed up in the world, someone needed something.
You're
built.
Like a hairdresser.
Yeah, exactly.
You are
yeah. You can just bring the tools with you.
You know what I mean? Though you're just like anywhere. We need you. We need and there's certain people that you always need.
And I literally used to, I traveled the world. I had 2 bags that got checked in, and they were both full of tools. And I had a backpack that came on board, which was my clothes, and that was it. And I just went everywhere around the world with all my tools and my clothes. and always managed to make a bit of money. And then with the house in Ireland, I bought it with two friends who had more money than I did, and my contribution was to build it. And then over the years, I was able to buy those friends out of that property.
How much was the house?
The house was 81,000 euros
Wow.
for this little cottage with a few outbuildings and 5 acres of land.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is this where Erin comes in?
Yeah. So Erin, we met in Dublin. We met at the Fumbly Cafe. I was there making some coffees. All Australians know how to make coffee.
Yes.
So, you know, building, making
Good
coffee,
baristas.
whatever. And she came up to the till one day, and we just had a lovely little tiny connection. And then I went on break and went and sat down with her and heard all about her lovely boyfriend that she had, and everything that she was
Why would
that
she
she
do
was
that?
at in her life. And then about a year later, you know, we'd seen each other over time, but I was never going to go in and interrupt a relationship. But about a year later, I got a text message from her just asking if I was around and if I wanted to catch up. I was in Colombia on a job when she texted me, and I couldn't believe, like, I had to interpret the text message as like, wait, you're asking me if I want to hang out? Does that mean
Or
you're
are we
not,
friends,
don't,
or
yeah,
we-
you're not with your boyfriend anymore? I was like, had to get really specific. And she confirmed that she was single and wondering if I was around. And so I changed my flight back from Colombia, and I got back here.
changed your flight?
Yeah, I wanted to get back as soon as possible. This person had been in a relationship for 8 years. I was like,
Had she?
Yeah. I was like, there's probably like 24 people in Dublin who are like waiting for
So she was in an
her.
8-year relationship.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
Yeah.
She thought of you again.
She thought I would be a good rebound.
No,
She
thought
did.
of you again.
I promise she'll
but
tell
the
you.
fact that she thought of you again and texted you, so
Yeah.
you'd exchange numbers as kind of like friendly vibes.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, like we should. Did you think of her again?
Yeah, but
Like
it was never an
chilled.
option. This was someone
Yeah,
who was
okay, so
in
you're
a
like, I
relationship.
fancy her, but she's in a relationship.
Yeah. It was like, that's a great person, but she's in a relationship.
So you
Cool.
weren't like obsessively thinking
No,
about her.
not at all.
But when she texted, you were like,
I was like, oh wow, that's an opportunity, and that's one of
Okay.
those priceless
this
things
is
where
this
like,
opportunity thing about
where-
work and relationships.
Exactly, and when you know that something's like kind of a priceless opportunity, it doesn't really matter.
So you changed your flight.
So
I
I changed
love
my flight,
this.
got back as soon as I could, drove straight from the airport.
Did she know this?
Yeah, well, she found out in the car.
Did it seem eager?
It probably seemed eager. But what's funny is it was all under we started driving west, basically, under the guise of she wanted me to drop her at her mum's place in East Clare.
Okay, so she's from Clare.
She grew up in East Clare, yeah, but, you know, I had already bought the cottage out in West Clare.
Yeah.
And so when it came to it, I had to convince her to move back west, that
Yeah.
it wasn't a regression to
Yes.
like move from the city and
Yes.
move back there. But, you know, it's funny, on that first car ride we had together, I had about an hour and 45 minutes to convince her to come to my place instead of me dropping her at her mum's
As if
place.
she has to be convinced. Shut up. Did she pretend she to be convinced?
Yeah, she did. It wasn't.
playing a good
It literally
game?
wasn't until the turnoff that we made the decision to keep going straight.
This is such a personal question. Was there a fear that there's a woman who's come out of a pretty heavy duty marriage-like relationship and you like her and you're I love that you're just such a wild, like, let's seek opportunity. Was there a fear that this was danger zone, that this woman needed a few years off?
No, and that was probably naive of me. I think she had that fear even more. And she told me, you know, 6 months later, but that I was a rebound. She literally called me because she was like, hey, that carefree like guy, Australian guy who travels around the world and you know, he's a great person to like
Sleep with.
meet. Yeah.
Have fun with, sleep with, but it's
Whatever.
not
We
going to
can
be...
say that now that
it's
we've
not going to
been-
be marriage.
Yeah,
like,
we can say that now that we've got 2 kids and have been married for years. But it was she was much more cautious than I was in the early days. But that was because I had never done that before. You know, I didn't have a track record of like being a great long-term partner or being a potential dad
Had you
or
not
being
been
stable.
with loads of people? You hadn't huge relationships?
I had had like many relationships over the years, and like some were long and like would keep going back, but I was literally in a different country every 2 months for
she
years.
stabilized you.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, we've made sure that it still has never been boring since we got together. And you know, I was still working around the world, and I knew the only way I was going to get her to trust me and like stay in a relationship with me was if I brought her to every job. So the deal that I made with myself and with her was that every job I went to, she had a return ticket and she could choose like what part of it she wanted to come to, whether we hang out for a month after the build that I was doing, whether she came for part of it, whatever. And so the first year of our relationship was all over the world. We're in Patagonia, we're in North America, we're in France. We just kept meeting up in different places.
And that solidified, like all of that love language, the communication, going through shitty things, resilience, but she also got, like you said, trusted you. This isn't a guy who's going around sleeping with every woman around the world.
Exactly.
He's crazy about me and he's self-built and he's actually awesome, but she needed to see that.
Yeah. And I needed to show her that. That was my responsibility, right? I needed to show that was the kind of partner I'd be.
You're out west now and you're married. You were only together a while when you started having bobos.
Yeah, we were together 2.5 years or something, and we got pregnant. What's funny is to convince her to come back west, she didn't want to live in my house. She didn't want to be, like so dependent on me. And so we bought a house together in Ennisdiamond, in the town near where we live. And it was very cheap and it needed a lot of work. And so we renovated this house together and we put all this energy into it. We made it beautiful and something, basically I was trying to create something way better than she could have had in Dublin. It was like, she was a graphic designer. I was like, let's create you a studio that's yours. It's, loads of light, whatever. Yeah. So built this perfect place for her to live out west, 10 minutes from my house. We could, have our relationship. She could be independent. She could run her business. She moved into the house. I went away on the next job and I'd been gone a week and I got a message from her that she was pregnant. And so she moved up to my house, 2 months later. How did you feel? I was excited. I was in Taos, New Mexico when I got the message and I was genuinely excited. And it was an amazing message to get. Again, it hadn't been something I'd ever been planning, but for the first time, this was someone where I wasn't scared of that happening. And I was like, okay, cool. We're going to figure this one out too. And then I used to ride a lot of motorbikes and I messaged my other friend right away who I was staying with there. I was like, can I borrow your motorbike to go on one last road trip before having kids?
I just need it.
No, just because I wasn't, motorbikes are so dangerous. Yes. I've had several friends die on motorbikes. And so I made this decision, like within five minutes of getting the message from her, I was like, well, I can never ride a motorbike again. No. So I better go on one last trip just to,
one last hurrah.
just to make the most of it. But it was acceptance, like immediately and joy and like, cool, let's commit to this new path we're on.
Do you take being a father very seriously, Harrison?
Yeah.
Like it's like your ultimate.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the only like immovable thing in my life. Everything else can come and go, but it's the one thing that I've got to keep that situation really good and really safe for everyone, for the kids, for Erin, for me. And it's tricky because I am busy and I am doing lots of things all the time, and I do have the projects that I'm working on and the things I'm excited to do. But you know what it did? It gave me the ability to focus all my attention on the things that mattered. So it gave me the ability to say no to anything that wasn't important.
Rosanna Davison was on yesterday and she goes, having kids completely changed me. I was like, oh, it changes us all. She goes, no. Having those 3 kids meant I said no to stuff. Yeah. There was suddenly routine, which I craved so badly. Yeah. And I wasn't hustling. She's like, I suddenly was like, I can't.
Yeah. You basically stop prioritizing everyone else over yourself. You just like, that wouldn't be a good use of my time. I would rather hang out with my kids than do that. So I'm going to say no to it. And it makes it so easy just to prioritize and just to be like, these are the things that matter. These are the things that are part of the big picture. And all these small bitty things that are really just to help someone out or do a little piece in someone's TV show, like the reason that first offer of like going and being a different voice on a TV show didn't work, didn't interest me, was that there was no long-term value to that. There was no long-term
like, what am I going to get from this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
And I think kids have really helped me think long-term about everything. I've never actually thought about this before or articulated that before, but I think it changed me from being really in the moment, really short-term, spontaneous, and like just jumping from one thing to the next, to suddenly having to consider other people
But it's also
in
the
every
putting
decision.
down of roots. And I don't mean that within a home and bricks and mortar. I mean, putting down roots. Where are they going to be calmest and happiest and thriving?
Yeah.
It's not just about me fulfilling my impulsive.
Exactly, yeah.
It's them.
Yeah.
What is it about Erin that's different? Like, what is it? Obviously, there's a great love story there, but what is it that keeps you guys ticking? She's different to you, or she's the same as you?
No, she's different to me. We're so different, but we're so complementary. And that was even like when we were doing the house together and doing everything. Like, she's a designer, and it's nice when, you know, I think being with a designer, it brings out that side of me a little bit more. It allows me to experiment in things and then like get her feedback of if it's good or not. And then she was up for learning how to build, but in the end, like, she's the visual side of everything that we do, and I'm the like builder grunt force side, the practical side. And I know that's kind of cliche, but it works really well for us, and we're really in our elements when we're doing our job in the unit. When like each of us, we kind of have our lanes, we have the things that we do and that we do really well, and it's, I think for both of us, we do it to support the other person, to make sure that they don't have to do it, basically, you know.
There's a lot of tethered marriages, relationships. There's a lot of stress on couples, I think, in their 30s and 40s nowadays, and I think it's some of it's self-inflicted, some of it's kind of self-sabotage, some of it's because we don't want to do what our parents did, and we don't want to, if this marriage doesn't work, we'll just get out of it, and there's this ease of that. Or there's also the like, I want to make it work and it's not working. Or there's also the fact that dual incomes are so necessary in this country, it's so expensive. Now I know you're living slightly a different life of that, but what is it that connects? Like, you have a love story, but you also have the practicalities of marriage. There's finances, there's dramas, you have 2 children, that's no mean feat, and you're living out west. What is it that brings you back to each other and why do you want this to survive and work for the kids?
I think when we found each other, both our lives changed very dramatically. I was going from being very nomadic to being more stable. She was going from this kind of very long-term but not functioning relationship to one where she could thrive a little bit more and be more free and be herself. And I think that felt really good and really exciting. And then we had kids, and all of our attention and everything we do is for them and about them, which is great. It's how it should be, and we love that. But I think we're both really excited for the future of getting to continue our own journey a little bit more, and the stuff that we can do together and the stuff that we can create together. You know, we started Build School and Common Knowledge together as a team, and that always worked really well, and we worked together really, really well. And we haven't got to do that ever since we had Isla, our second daughter, because, you know, Isla's only 2 years old now. Like, Erin's only just coming out of the
haze,
bubble of that. And it's really exciting looking into the future and starting to feel like we might both have time and energy to create things that leave a positive impact in the world and that make the space better, not just for our kids, but for everyone, you know, for us. Like, I think we both, I won't speak for Erin, I really believe that, you know, we can create the kind of world that we want to live in. And if it doesn't exist, we'll just build it. We'll just find a way to do it. And we do it again and again, and Common Knowledge, like the reason we started that nonprofit, is about helping people to have the tools that they need to do that for themselves. It's not about us doing it for everyone. We're just trying to create a lovely little life for ourselves and do everything we can to enjoy what we've got and enjoy the life we've got and not be working like maniacs to do it. And we still need 2 incomes at the moment to do everything that we do. But our main goal right now is just to get rid of our mortgage, to get all our expenses down so we can both work less, so we can both enjoy our life a little bit more. Yeah.
But you have a dream, and I think it's like others could look to you, people that are run ragged and kind of like, there can be a lot of drama and stress in homes. I think what you're teaching us and looking at what you're doing, the incredible work that you're doing, you're teaching us not to forget each other and that initial connection. I loved how you said, I was speaking to you pre-record, yeah, I love my kids and they're amazing. And we joked about, like, you may not have more. And you said no. And I can't wait to get back to my wife instead of life, like motorbiking Patagonia. Like, you're like my wife. So you teach us a lot about forgetting ourselves within a marriage and kids and how we immerse, and parenting has taken such a different turn. Nobody fucking cared, no offense, about parenting, and there was no books and guidance and podcasts and horseshit. It was just like fucking, and now we're so immersed in like our kids and what do they need, and you're also saying, yeah, cool, but I want my story with my wife. I want that path. I want to figure it out. I want to do the building. I want to help the world. But I want to be with my wife.
Yeah.
And I think we can learn a lot from you and Erin and how you're disciplined in that, because we just forget ourselves in the noise and the money, the materialism, like we do.
Yeah. Look, I think it's really, it just comes back to that long-term thing for me. It's like we're always thinking 10 years away.
I'm never thinking 10 years away.
Yeah.
I don't know what a year, like I have such a fear of thinking, someone always says to me about what's your 3-year plan? Like that freaks me out.
Yeah.
That's quite incredible that you said 10.
Well, I think it's not that we know where we're going to be in 10 years, right? It's, we know like what we want to feel like in 10 years, right? And so it's the small decisions, the small ones we make every day
That will impact.
That are like, is this heading in that direction or is it actually heading in that direction? And if these little decisions or an agreement to do some little thing here is heading in the wrong direction, then why do it? What's the value? Who are you doing it for if it's not for you in 10 years?
Wow. Christ. Someone said to me yesterday, some decision, they were like, I don't think that's a great decision. They're like, and that'll impact you in 5 years. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, like if this is not a good idea for Becca in 5 years' time, why would you do that? I'm like, fucking hell. That's nuts. Okay, so you're always thinking about your future with her and your kids.
Yeah,
wow.
Totally. Yeah, and just for ourselves as well. You know, we do this like annual review.
Yeah,
basically.
We try and do that. We always row.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we do it, but it's hard.
We like it. The reviews kind of the dangerous part. You know, when you're looking back at the last year and you're kind of like measuring. You know, we kind of measure like how much time did we spend on these things? How much time did we spend on that? And then the planning bit's the fun bit. Right. Yeah. What's next? What are we doing? Like, what do we want to do this year? And where do we want to be in 10 years? And how do we make sure that the things that we try to do this year are leading to that 10-year goal and aren't just like, I don't know, flippant or short term. Yeah.
How do you parent? I feel like you got these two gals. I have two gals similar ages and they are like, I want to eat their heads. They're so cute.
Yeah.
Like, girls are good for you. Girls are good for men like you who travel the world, maybe selfishly in a way, have done your own thing. Girls level you out. Like, my husband's proper, I felt, alpha South African, you know, ran the show, and I thought he was going to string out like 3 rugby players. And he got these 2 bobos and he just adores them.
Yeah.
And there's lots of me in them because I'd be a lot wilder than him. And it's like, what the fuck? But girls are just such a leveler.
Yeah. My girls are amazing, Inari and Isla, and they're my little, like, I just want them to be so able to deal with the world and deal with whatever is going to get thrown at them.
That's the most important thing that's been said on this podcast season. I love that you didn't just say, yeah, I adore them. I hope they're happy. They're so cute. I want them to be able to deal with the world because the world is fucking hard.
It is, yeah. And it's full of tricks, you know, it's full of things that are trying to convince you to do something else or convince you should be something.
Wow.
And I want them to be able to make their own decisions and do whatever they want to do. Whether it's like, I want to make sure they know how to build their own house.
I love
but
this.
I want to make sure that they like don't get in a car with a drunken teenage boy because it's cool that he can drive a car. I'm just going to teach him to drive a car better than the teenage boy.
Yeah,
it's all
you
right.
don't need to get in his car. You can fix your own wheel.
Exactly, yeah.
Resilience, strength of empowered women.
But they've been so it's been so beautiful for me to like just get to tap into like little girl energy, and they're like, they call them, Inari has like self-titled them the Builder Ballerinas, you know, and when they're helping me working around the house, they're in their tutus, but they've got their drills and they're following me around, picking up screws, handing me things, whatever. They're like my little surgeon assistants, you know. They know all the tools in the toolbox. It's very sweet, but it's all the same thing to them, and I love that, you know. And I think a big part of why we started Common Knowledge was that there was this idea that a builder looks a certain way, that all builders are like white, middle-aged, you know.
Snickers pants.
Yeah, exactly, whatever it is. And that's all bullshit. Like,
these are
our homes, you know. This is like, we all need this thing to survive. We've all always created our own homes. It's really only like in the last few generations that a builder has become a certain type of person or just an occupation. And like all these stone ruins around the house were built by the homeowners. They weren't built by builders, you know. Everyone was a builder. And I think that for my girls, I don't want to feel like there's certain things that they're not meant to do because they're a girl, or certain things that they're meant to do because they are a girl, you know. And I don't think that's going to be in their future. And so I just want them to have all the tools, all the skills that they want, that they need to do whatever they can be. If Harry wants to be a ballerina, go for it. That's totally fine. I just want to make sure that she feels like she can also build her own house and be a ballerina if she wants
badass.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. What do you find challenges you though? It's great that you're like hands-on. I think you're so you're empowering those gorgeous girls to actually get out, build your house, like you said, get your own job. Don't be dependent on a man or woman or whatever the world has for them. It's just go out and do it. But what you might be fab at all that, and you're obviously a lover, you love them. But what do you find challenges you, and is it something from your youth that you struggle with your kids, or is that a bit deep?
No, I don't know. It's just Erin has a whole different history to me, and it's really interesting for me. It's something that no one really tells you about when you become a parent, is that you have to...
when you come together, because you parent so differently.
Yeah, well, you've had such different experiences. Yes. And like you've got... from when you find out you're pregnant, you've basically got 9 months to figure out how you're going to start parenting together. Yeah. And it's really hard. And Erin has a lot of stuff that she's dealing with from her past. I have things that I'm maybe haven't dealt with yet, and I'm still trying to figure out. And we have these ideas about what is safe and what's a great place, what's a great environment to bring them up in. And we're not always totally aligned on that, but we're very respectful of each other's experiences and everything that's got us to where we are. So we figure it out. But I guess I have a fear sometimes that the kids will feel that, like, I don't want it to be like we were a good cop, bad cop kind of situation, you know? Like I want them to feel like I want them to feel confident in the way that they react to situations and the way they deal with things. And sometimes between Erin and I, because we have different ways of doing things, that doesn't always come through in the way we parent. I think
it does for anyone. I don't even think the most beautiful couples really struggle with that communication piece where they're like, well, this is how we did it in our house and this is what's better. I think that can be a struggle. Then some go as far as to fight in front of their kids. But most people have that. And then today I saw that Harvard study where it was like, kids just need to be really loved and only really look to one parent for love. And the other is much more of a like, maybe the practical stuff or the advisor, but actually they only feel deep love from one parent. I found that crazy.
Well, I haven't read that, but that's a wild idea, but possible as well.
The safety zone or something of one. And I'm trying to think, and then I'm looking at my own girls, and it's hard. It's really horrible, and it's hard to know because you're like but it just shows that like really whatever you do, it doesn't matter once they feel safe. Yeah. I think, and it's kind of to do with that, but I think I grew up in a way that from my mum I often felt a bit of obligation to be a certain way, or that she'd done all this or sacrificed so much for me to get to a certain point. And I think I just really want to make sure that the girls never feel like it was our choice to have them. It wasn't their choice to have us as parents, you know. And I want to make sure that they know that, and that they're free to just, in a way, do what I did and go and like, I want to make sure that's an open door for them to go and choose their own path and be whatever they want to be, so that they do come back in if they want to, you know, in the future, that it doesn't feel like they have to run away from me to do that they can do that and still come back to us as parents and come back for that support. But we'll see. We're only 5 years into being parents. They're going to be so
you know?
proud of you
We're
both,
just
though.
learning.
They're going to just think you're both so cool. What you're doing is like, you know, groundbreaking in the sense that you're correct. People have been doing this for years, but actually this country really needs people like you guys. And so they're going to think you're so awesome. What is all the work that you're doing at the moment? Like, I know I got you in to do this and that was amazing, but you MC, right? You're teaching. What are the main pieces of the puzzle at the moment for you? Yeah,
so it's crazy busy at the moment. So right now we're filming the second season of Build Your Own Home.
Where is that? Where can we see that?
That'll be on RTE1. It'll come out in autumn.
Autumn, okay.
Yeah. I've just finished one book, which is all about other ways to solve the housing crisis.
Go on, amazing.
Rather than just waiting for the government to do it for us. It's called Our Homes, Other Ways to Solve the Housing Crisis.
Yeah. Oh, that it is called
Well,
that,
more
okay.
to say our as in like this is our thing to deal with. It's not like someone else's thing to deal with and hand us the solution. Let's find the ways that we can start piecing this together ourselves. And so it's a book that's really meant to plant seeds of like, these are all the different ways that
Do you mean like buying a site for 50 grand as opposed to waiting for a bank to give you 300? Do you mean like...
No, I mean,
what?
So that's this, I've been doing the self-build approach to this problem for years now. That's what Common Knowledge is. That's what the TV show is. That's what everything is. What I'm looking at now is like everything in between, because the dealing with it all on your own, it's intimidating for a lot of people. It's too big, it's too hard. But there's lots of examples of non-profits coming together or communities coming together and becoming their own developers.
Yes.
13 families building an apartment block together and managing to create housing that's truly affordable. And then there's non-profits out there who are completely taking the like commodification of housing out of the equation. Okay. So it's no longer a product to buy and sell. They're creating something that will stay at a stable price forever. It's built into the Constitution, and it'll stop areas becoming gentrified. It'll stop areas like people getting priced out of the places they grew up in. And it's really inspiring, and I'm really excited about this book. And it's really just to plant these seeds to remind people that there are other ways to deal with this problem.
Because people feel a bit imprisoned in it. It's a really horrible mindset at the moment of, how do I get the deposit? What if I don't have a partner? Then it's just me on my... It's really scary,
that system was... It might have worked for our parents, right? This idea of like, get the stable job, get the house, get the mortgage for life, but that doesn't work anymore. It doesn't matter if you've got the stable job and the stable income. It's still really, really hard. And the system is a little broken, but there's ways around the system. And it's not, I'm not trying to break anything down. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just trying to show everyone that there are so many other ways to do this. It's not like there is only one way to get a house in Ireland. There are so many ways to create it. So just finished writing that, really excited about that. And then everything with Common Knowledge that keeps us going, all the courses we're running, teaching people how to build their own homes. And we do all these short courses teaching people how to build furniture or how to fix the plumbing in their house or how to grow their own food or cook their own food, whatever. So,
and I'm going to get Harrison to do an award-winning podcast as well.
Perfect.
That's on my like... So you're busy out and you love being busy.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think about it that like I love being busy. I think I'm always, like a lot of people, I'm always in my head. I always want to not be busy. Okay. But the second I take time off and take that space, that's when all the new ideas start coming.
And what's the hobby? Like, do you work out? Do you run? Do you sea swim? Do you eat a lot? Like, what is your thing that fills you up?
I just build our house.
Okay, so like it's all that stuff at home.
I'm just still improving our own house and making it more resilient and making it more like
she'll never get rid of you. If you're improving a house, you're kind of stuck. That's it. She's stuck with you.
Well, it means we've lived in a building site for our entire relationship so far. We've never not had that. But if I had a hobby, that would be it. It's just working on the house. But that downtime, that it is really important because it's when the new ideas and the new solutions come for me. It's like having space to sit there and like mull over problems in a long-term way. Like what you need to go like really, really deep into a problem to start trying to figure out how you fix it at that like ground level and then work your way back up. And so say when I wrote this recent book, it was, we went to the Canaries in January for 3 weeks off because it'd been a crazy year last year. And I wrote basically an entire book, the first draft, and then ripped the whole thing up and wrote it again. Ended up writing it 3 times, but we got there. But like that's what I do in my time off. When my brain actually has time to
never stops.
to have some space and work on it. I get to be creative, and that feels good.
Thank God you came here from Australia to Clare. Like, honestly, we need you in this country. There are a good few of you now, but you're certainly standing out from the crowd. And I remember meeting you and kind of hearing about you. But thank God for you and what you're doing with your wife, Erin. We're lucky to have you. Don't go back to Australia. Harrison Gardner, it's such a privilege to have you on the podcast. I think you offer something different. And I think there's a lot of like... and I just think we need a little bit more of this. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Sponsored by Optimal Follow On. We believe that every feed is a gift. That's why we've dedicated over 50 years to breast milk research. Optimal Follow On Milk, your life, our science. Breastfeeding is best. Follow On milk should be used as part of a mixed diet from 6 months. talk to a health professional. If you like this episode, will you please rate it, subscribe and share it with others? This helps me get the guests that you want to hear.